Victoria Osteen, who is married to Pastor Joel Osteen, recently shared some very personal and sad news that has made millions of her fans cry. People all over the world have been moved by her deep message. With their faith, hope, and determination, the Osteens have inspired millions of people. They are one of the most famous Christian couples. But Victoria took a moment today to talk about something that really hurts her, making a very real and often ignored part of life stand out. Watch this space as we talk more about Pastor Joel Osteen's wife shared news. Pastor Joel Osteen and his wife Victoria have led many people to faith and hope for many years. With their powerful sermons, books, and Lakewood Church, they have brought people together and helped them get through hard times all over the world. Before starting his own church, John had a great time as a preacher, where he did a lot of different things. It's interesting to think about how hard it was for him to become religious. His biography says that he didn't really start to talk to God until 1939, when he quit going to a bar that he often went to. He was ordained into the gospel ministry by a Southern Baptist Convention church not long before he turned 17. A few months later, he began speaking in Paris, Texas. During his career, John held a number of different church roles. He worked as an associate pastor at First Baptist Church in San Diego, California, after finishing from the National Baptist Theological Seminary. Besides that, he was a preacher at the First Baptist Church in Hamlin, Texas. After leaving Hamlin, he started out as a traveling preacher. But a year later, he was hired as the leader of Central Baptist Church in Baytown, Texas. John's journey shows how one event can change a person's life. He went from not caring about his religion to being a famous minister, setting the example for his son Joel Osteen to follow. John Osteen used to be an ordained Southern Baptist preacher, but in the mid-1980s, he had a big change of heart and stopped being a Baptist. He then started following charismatic ideas instead. In the late 1980s, he put together the Lakewood community as a separate, non-denominational church. It was a big deal because he started the church in a building that used to be a feed shop in Northeast Houston, Texas. With the help of his son Joel Osteen, this small beginning marked the start of a mission that would grow into one of the largest churches in the U.S. and have a big effect on the Christian community. By using a charismatic style, John was able to reach more people and make the church a better place to pray. Many people may not know that Joel Osteen became interested in technology when he was 10 years old, even though he often acts like his father as John Osteen's son. He went to work with his dad on Saturdays because he was interested in the church's tools, not because he wanted to become a priest like his dad. While John was getting ready to preach, Joel would eagerly play around with the sound and video equipment. John was focused on the technical side of preaching. Joel was the least likely to become important in the church at first, even though he is now very well known. Among his siblings and other relatives, Joel was the quietest. His brothers and other relatives were preachers and actors, but he was strongest when he was behind the camera. His help in starting Lakewood Church's TV program in the 1990s made it possible for the church to reach many more people. Along with helping the church teach more people, his work made him an important part of his father's plan to achieve his goal. This trip shows how Joel turned his early interests into a powerful ministry tool. He finally found his own identity while still honoring his father's legacy. For 16 years, Joel Osteen was in charge of the church's media department. Among other things, he oversaw cameramen and changed the lights during services. Every Saturday, he would go to his dad's house to help pick out clothes for the Sunday service, carefully writing down on yellow-lined paper the details of what his dad wore and the dates that went with them. Joel also took on the important job of editing sermons for TV shows. He helped his father know when to turn around and face the camera to get those important times that people would remember. While working in the media, he started to feel a calling to service. But how did he get into the ministry? Even though Joel Osteen was normally quiet, he had to take on leading roles after his father died in 1999. Osteen was named the head pastor of Lakewood Church. While he was in charge, the church quickly grew to become the biggest and fastest growing congregation in the U.S. He greatly increased the church's budget for TV time and actively increased the church's media exposure by spending money on billboards and other forms of platform marketing. Osteen also negotiated with different networks to get the best times to be shown on TV so that he could reach the most people. In just a few years, his weekly TV show became the most popular motivational show with fans from more than 100 countries. Osteen was well known in the media, and in 2004, his best-selling book, Your Best Life, Now 7 Steps to Living at Your Full Potential, came out. His influence and the church's amazing growth were made possible by this mix of media strategy and motivational talks. Joel kept sharing his message of hope and faith with a heart full of determination and hope. In 2005, Joel began a long tour of 15 cities across the United States. As he spoke in front of large groups, his words struck a deep chord with people who were looking for motivation and inspiration. Because he was so excited, people from all walks of life came to hear him talk. In the same year, Lakewood Church built a beautiful new megachurch with 16,000 seats in the old, smaller center that was packed with prayer and joy. The church quickly grew, going from having only 6,000 followers in 1999 to having over 50,000 by 2006. It got bigger every year for Joel. 10 million people watched his weekly TV shows by 2008, which is an amazing number. Let us see how much of an effect he has. His books were bestsellers because they were full of wise and inspiring ideas that helped readers find inner peace and self-improvement. It helped a lot of people see their own potential through books like Think Better, Live Better, and How to Become a Better You. Joel Osteen's unwavering faith and commitment changed not only Lakewood Church, but also the lives of millions of people. He left a ray of hope and positivity that still shines brightly today. People often call Joel Osteen the smiling preacher because he was known for being easygoing and looking young. He didn't get into deep theological arguments in his lectures. Instead, they were positive and easy to understand. He instead focused on topics that were good. He said a lot of the time that he was sure God wants us to have better lives. Using this approach worked well for many, bringing in large groups of people and making him well known. Osteen wore some nice clothes, but not everyone liked them. Some people said that he preached a watered-down version of Christianity and was more of a motivational speaker than a preacher. Some even said he was preaching a gospel of wealth. Joel Osteen says that he has bad days sometimes, even though he always seems happy on TV. He believes that what someone does in the morning can affect the rest of their day. He makes time every morning to think about all the good things in his life and get rid of any bad thoughts that are still bothering him. This helps him keep a positive attitude. This positive mood wasn't always present in Joel Osteen. When he first ran into problems, he started to improve this plan and adopt a more positive outlook on life. His mother's condition, a big event in his life that he doesn't talk about very often, started the change in him. But Osteen told a very personal story about his mother, Dodie Osteen, while they were talking about the connections between science, faith, and healing. In 1991, she was only 48 years old when she learned that she had liver cancer that would not get better and that there were no treatments that would work. Even though this bad news was coming, Dodie stayed true to her faith, prayed, and often quoted from the Bible. She has miraculously lived for more than 30 years since that diagnosis, which shows how strong her faith and will are. Even though she has died, Dodie Osteen is still living and working in a ministry that helps people in need. Tens of millions of people around the world have been moved and motivated by her book, Healed of Cancer. It gives hope to people who are going through similar health problems. Dodie Osteen's book, Healed of Cancer, which came out in 1986, tells the story of her brave fight to live and her unwavering faith in the face of suffering. This story about Dodie shows what it means to have a strong and desperate faith. Even though her body was going through terrible things, she held on to her unshakable faith in God. She claimed that God's promises were true and that He wanted her to get better so that she could help other people who were going through the same things and show how faith can help you get through hard times. This experience gave Osteen a new point of view, which helped him become a good example. A lot of the time, he talked about how faith can do amazing things and how God wants His people to have a full life. In a recent interview, he talked about how important prayer and the idea of faith healing are. He said that these topics sometimes cause disagreements among doctors. Gallup polls show that a huge 92% of Americans believe in God, and that 80% believe that prayer or God can improve their health. A lot of people turn to their religion for comfort when they are sick, both in public and in private. When people are sick, they often turn to their faith for comfort, whether they are in public or private. This reaction comes from the way people are in general, representing a strong belief in a greater power or a phenomenon that is hard to explain. No matter what, Joel's mother's diagnosis and subsequent recovery have made him even more sure that faith can help people who are sick. This personal experience has also had an effect on Joel, making his classes better and his style more lively. He faced another big problem when he lost his father. He knew he had to carry on his father's work, though. In what ways has Joel carried on his father's work? Keep watching to find out. There are good and bad things about being Joel Osteen. One good thing is that you can sometimes meet famous teachers and spiritual leaders, but he also has to deal with the huge weight of the duties that have been put on him his whole life. A lot of people have been wondering if he could be like his father, who was a very well-liked preacher. Even though there is stress, the happy pastor has set out on his own unique road, showing that he has many plans and a special way of serving people that speaks to many. Joel Osteen stays away from controversial topics like politics, gay marriage, and abortion a lot of the time. From what he knows of the Bible, he has made it clear that homosexuality is not God's will and is wrong. Even though he is deeply religious, Osteen stresses having a welcoming mindset. He says that homosexual people are welcome in his congregation without being judged. In 2008, Osteen was asked by Fox News about Mormons and whether he thought they were Christians during the Republican presidential race. He said he hadn't done a lot of study on their religion, but his answer of yes shows that he thinks they are Christians. This comment shows that he is willing to talk about a lot of different faiths and points of view, even though he doesn't know much about them. In an interview in 2011, Osteen also said that he supported Israel. This shows that he is open to working with a variety of issues and cultures. His approach is to focus on understanding and acceptance instead of getting into heated arguments. This helps him keep the message of his ministry positive and open to everyone. Let's learn more about his marriage and how it affects his work in the church. Victoria, Joel's wife, went to school at the University of Houston and worked in the diamond business her family owned. The jewelry shop where she met Joel is also where they got married. Osteen married Victoria Osteen, who had been married to Elif on April 4, 1997. Victoria would become a co-pastor of Lakewood Church in the future. Together, they have 2 children. By the year 2000, Paul and a few of Osteen's brothers had also decided to serve in the ministry full-time. Osteen and his family live in a fancy 17-square-foot home in River Oaks that is estimated to be worth between $10 and $5 million. He is the senior pastor of Lakewood Church and has said that the group, which has a big budget of $70 million a year, does not give him anything. Instead, the sales of his books are his main source of income. They allow him to maintain his lifestyle while focusing on his spiritual duties, which shows how dedicated he is to his job and how financially independent he has become through writing. Many people know that Victoria and Joel Osteen are a strong church team that never gives up. But like any other relationship, they've had their share of problems behind the scenes. Victoria's latest statement has added a new level of openness and honesty. It reminds us all that life's problems are not defined by titles, accomplishments, or positions. Victoria has said many times that she believes in God's plan, even when it's hard to understand. Faith, in her words, is not about making sure everything works out, but about being happy no matter what. Her most recent update shows that when they are having a hard time, even people who teach about hope and faith need those same things. Victoria recently spoke from a place of weakness. She told them that she and her family had been going through a tough time. Her message is a warning that we are never alone in our problems and that life can throw us problems we didn't expect, and being there for each other by sharing her story. She told her fans that hard times are often times to grow closer to God and appreciate the help of those closest to you. Victoria's bravery in telling us about her problems makes us all think of how powerful honesty and faith can be. It can help to talk to other people, pray, and call out when you or someone you care about is having a hard time.